Should states that are using election fraud, pushing legitimate voters off the voting rolls because they're black or poor or old or whatever, these Republican-controlled states, should they start losing members of the House of Representatives? Oddly, the 14th Amendment actually says yes. Check this out. Leave your comment, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. The message that I'm trying to share, I've told you a few times, is this essential message that the only way Republicans have gotten the White House in 2000 and 2016 with George W. Bush and Donald Trump, and the only way probably a half a dozen Republican members of the Senate and probably 30 or 40 Republican members of the House of Representatives, the only way that they're there is because of voter suppression. This massive voter suppression campaign, George Bush and Jeb Bush kicked this thing off in 2000 in Florida by using the Texas felon list to push 90,000 African Americans off the voting rolls in Florida. That created a huge uproar. So in 2002, they passed a law, the Help America Vote Act, that created this thing called provisional ballots, where when people are pushed off the voting rolls, they still show up, they're given a ballot, they think they voted. That's why they walk out and tell the exit pollster, yeah, I voted for Hillary Clinton. And that's why almost, according to the exit polls, Hillary Clinton won Pennsylvania, Florida, North Carolina, Wisconsin, and two of those states she won by about 6%, according to the exit polls. But the official count, after all these people were purged and after all these provisional ballots that were not even opened, much less counted, were just stuck in a box someplace, yeah, magically Donald Trump wins, and Rick Scott goes to the Senate, and Andrew Gillum loses, and Stacey Abrams loses, and all of those losses, all those Democratic losses in 2016 and 2018 were entirely caused by voter suppression. And as you and I are speaking right now in red states all across the country, this is not happening in states with Democratic secretaries of state. This is a totally partisan thing. But right now, as you and I are speaking in red states across the country, secretaries of state are purging people from the vote, particularly in large cities, particularly in cities with large black populations. Even in Georgia, for example, even in rural areas that have large black populations, purging the vote like crazy, reducing the number of voting stations. Brian Kemp closed more than 200 voting stations just in time for his election against Stacey Abrams in 2018. These people are illegitimate. This is, in my opinion, criminal. If it's not criminal by law, and I believe it is, frankly, it's also criminal by morality. The 14th Amendment, Article 2 of the 14th Amendment, explicitly says that if a state suppresses a legitimate vote, if a state prevents people from voting who have a right to vote, the state starts losing members of the House of Representatives. Now, I just learned this a couple days ago. It should be in my book, right? It should be a whole chapter, but I didn't know it at the time. I've read the 14th Amendment. I wrote a whole damn book about the 14th Amendment called Unequal Protection, and somehow I missed that. When you read the language of Article 2 of the 14th Amendment, it gets kind of obscure, but there it is. And I'm thinking that Georgia should lose one of their members of the House. And some of these other right-wing red states too. Ohio, you guys don't. I mean, if you suppress 580,000 votes in Georgia, that's at least one and maybe two congressional districts, and therefore they should have two fewer members of Congress, in my opinion.